Here is the most misunderstood sentence in A Course in Miracles. Ready. The world you see does not exist. That's it. And I completely understand if your first reaction is, okay, I'm out. That sounds like someone telling me nothing matters. That suffering isn't real. That I should just float above my life in some kind of spiritual haze and pretend everything is fine. But that is not what the Course is saying. Not even close. What it is saying is something far more specific, and honestly, far more useful, and by the end of this video you're going to understand exactly what it means. Because once you do, the anxiety that comes from feeling like the world is in charge of your happiness is going to start to loosen. Not because you checked out. Because you finally understood what's actually happening. By the end of this video, you're going to understand what ACIM means when it says the world isn't real, in plain language, without the mystical fog. You'll understand the difference between the world the ego projects and what the Course calls the real world. You'll see why this teaching doesn't make your life meaningless, it makes it lighter. You'll understand how this idea connects directly to the suffering you experience day to day. And why the outside world never actually has the power you think it does over how you feel. And you'll have a practice you can use immediately to start loosening the grip that circumstances have on your state of mind. This might be the most counterintuitive teaching in the Course, but it's also one of the most freeing. Imagine two people sitting in the exact same traffic jam. Same road, same delay, same hot car. Person A is furious. They're running through catastrophic scenarios, late for the meeting, the client will leave, the whole deal will fall apart, everything they've worked for is at risk. Their body is flooded with cortisol. They're accelerating and braking aggressively between 6-inch increments of movement. Person B is calm. Not because they're ignoring the situation, they're in the same jam. But somewhere in their mind, a different story is running. They're listening to something they enjoy. They've already sent a heads-up message. They're not at peace because the traffic is better. They're at peace because they're not at war with it. Same world. Completely different experience. Now ask yourself which one is seeing reality accurately. The Course's answer is neither. But person B is closer to something useful. Because they're not treating the traffic as the source of their suffering. They know the source is somewhere else, somewhere internal. That insight is the beginning of what the Course is pointing to when it says the world is not real. A Course in Miracles teaches that the world you perceive is not discovered, it is projected. Your mind, shaped entirely by the thought system it's operating from love or fear. As we covered in Video 3 selects, filters and constructs the world you experience. You don't see reality and then react. You react and that reaction colors what you call reality. The Course uses the word perception very deliberately, and it draws a hard line between perception and knowledge. Knowledge is what's actually true, you are whole, loved, and eternal. Perception is the story your mind layers over that, and perception is always distorted by the ego to one degree or another. The world of perception, the Course says, is the world the ego made. Not made literally, the trees and traffic jams exist in some sense. But the meaning you assign to them. The threat level you assign to them. The emotional charge that makes some things unbearable and other things invisible, that is entirely constructed. And because it's constructed by the ego, it's constructed in the service of fear. The world will always look dangerous if you're looking through a lens that believes in danger. The world will always look scarce if you're looking through a lens that believes in lack. This is what the Course means when it says the world is not real. It doesn't mean the chairs aren't there. It means the story you're telling about the chairs, what they mean about you, about safety, about love, that story is not the truth. And you built it. Which means you can unbuild it. But here's the part that stops people, because this teaching can sound like spiritual bypassing. Like a sophisticated way of saying, just don't care. And the Course is actually very direct about this. It is not asking you to pretend your pain isn't real. It is not asking you to act like injustice doesn't matter or that your grief is an illusion you should rise above. So what is it asking? And what does it mean to live from this understanding practically, day to day? The Course draws a distinction that resolves this completely. There is the world the ego projects, fearful, threatening, competitive, and fundamentally unsafe. And there is what the Course calls the real world, which is not a different physical place, but the same place seen through a mind that has released fear. The real world is this world, perceived through love instead of through the ego's lens. The trees are still there. The traffic is still there. But the narrative of danger and lack is gone. What's left is something the Course calls the happy dream, life experienced without the ego's weight on it. Still a dream in the metaphysical sense. But a light one. A free one. Here is the practical implication. If the world you suffer in is a world your mind is constructing, then the place to apply your attention is your mind, not the circumstances. This doesn't mean you don't act. It means you act from a different starting point. Instead of rearranging the outside to feel better on the inside, you shift the inside first and let the outside be whatever it is. The Course says this is not resignation, it's the most powerful position available to you. Because your peace stops depending on things you can't control. Here's your practice. Today, find one situation that's currently causing you stress, something in your life that feels like it has power over how you feel. Hold it clearly in your mind. Then ask yourself this question: am I reacting to what is actually here or to the story I am telling about it? You don't have to answer it perfectly. Just sit with it for 30 seconds. Let the question work on you. Because the moment you can distinguish the event from your interpretation of it, even slightly, you have created space. And space is where the Course's healing happens. Not in changing what happened. In choosing how you hold it. We started with a sentence that sounds crazy: the world you see does not exist. And I hope it sounds different now. Not crazy. Not nihilistic. Just true in the specific way the Course means it, which is, the suffering you feel is not coming from out there. It's coming from the lens. And you can change the lens. That is not a small thing. That is the whole game. That is the difference between a life spent trying to fix the outside and a life lived from the inside out. A Course in Miracles is teaching you to live from the inside out. Subscribe so you don't miss video 6, because in the next video we get into the Course's most powerful practical tool, forgiveness. And ACIM's definition of forgiveness is nothing like the one you grew up with. It is stranger, it is more radical, and it is far more effective. Leave a comment below. Is there a situation in your life right now where you suspect the story might be causing more suffering than the facts? I read every comment. See you in video 6.